Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has some controversial plans to reform the welfare system and to implement cuts in disability benefits. Hi, I'm Adam Cherry and this is GBN Originals. Well, it's a move that's set to shake up the Department for Work and Pensions. The Labour government has announced sweeping changes to benefits, particularly targeting personal independence payments, which is known as PIP, and universal credit. Now, together, these reforms aim to cut a whopping £6 billion from the welfare budget. And as you'd expect, it's a decision that's already drawing criticism from some disability charities and left-wing economic experts alike. So let's break down the key points of what we can expect here. Firstly, the government is planning to implement tougher assessments for disability benefits. The DWP aims to save around £5 billion by tightening the eligibility criteria for PIP, which is, as I said, that's that benefit designed to help those with disabilities. Now, the move could potentially affect around 4 million people currently receiving that support. Secondly, PIP payments are set to be frozen, so they won't increase in line with inflation, and the freeze itself will result in a real terms loss for those recipients, with around 70% of those affected being in low to middle income households. Thirdly, changes to universal credit are also on the horizon. So the basic rate will increase for those seeking work or already in employment, but decrease for those deemed unfit to work. Now, that adjustment aims to incentivise employment and reduce dependency on the welfare system. So the Prime Minister is not mincing his words over this, and when he described the current state of the Department for Work and Pensions, he said to the Labour Party, the parliamentary party, last night that the existing welfare system was the worst of all worlds. He's telling this to his own backbenchers, and he criticised it for discouraging people from working. He also highlighted that 1 in 8 young people are not in education or employment or training, and he called that a wasted generation. So it's a big deal. He also said this is unsustainable, it's indefensible, and it's unfair. People feel that in their bones. And he went on to emphasise Labour Party values as it relates to this, saying we believe in the dignity of work and we believe in the dignity of every worker. It's actually the sort of thing you'd think a Conservative MP would be saying, but this is our Labour Prime Minister. Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall followed that up. She's been at the forefront of these reforms, of course, and in recent interviews, she is expressing concern about how broken, in her words, the welfare system is. In fact, she says it's not working for anyone. It's not working for people who depend on it. It's not working for taxpayers. She also says the only way it is going to work is to get people into work.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
So the government insists these reforms are necessary to create a more sustainable welfare system. Now, DWP spokesperson said, "We have a duty to get the welfare bill on a more sustainable path, and we will achieve that through meaningful, principled reforms rather than arbitrary cuts to spending." They added that without reform, more people will be locked out of jobs despite many wanting to work. That is not just bad for the economy, it's bad for people as well. These changes have not been without opposition, as you'd expect, so disability charities in particular are expressing serious concerns about these cuts. This is James Taylor, he's the Executive Director of Strategy at the disability charity Scope. He said that ripping PIP away will be catastrophic for disabled people. PIP exists because life costs more if you are disabled. Now, he emphasised that many disabled people rely on PIP for essential needs, saying many disabled people use PIP to get to and from work and to pay for essential equipment like mobility aids. He goes on to say that making it harder to make, or rather to get benefits, will just push even more disabled people into poverty, not into jobs. Furthermore, Laura Thomas from the MS Society is expressing, quote, deep concern, these are her words, about the welfare cuts, saying that with MS, people with MS are worried and filled with worry about what these changes mean for them. Certain left-wing economic experts have also weighed in on this. So Louise Murphy, who is the senior economist at the Resolution Foundation, which is a sort of an Ed Miliband-y think tank, she's described the package as combining sensible reforms with hugely controversial cuts. She urged the government to tread very carefully with the reforms, highlighting the potential impact on vulnerable groups. Funnily enough, Torsten Bell, who used to run the Resolution Foundation, is now a minister. I think he actually works. His brief is across DWP, so it'd be interesting to know what he really thinks about this. Although obviously he's got to toe the party line and is bound by collective responsibility, so I wouldn't expect him to pipe up too much. But nonetheless, it's worth noting as well that these reforms aren't about cutting costs exclusively, because the government plans to invest £1 billion of the savings into a significant employment support initiative for job seekers. It's all about getting people back into work, in their view. The investment aims to provide better support for those looking to re-enter the workforce. So the DWP has outlined 5 major changes to universal credit and PIP. The first is a payment cut overall, because they're changing the eligibility criteria for PIP. A payment freeze, so it will no longer be tied to the rate of inflation. Universal credit basic payment rise for those seeking work, eligibility rule changes to universal credit overall, and employment support investment. Now, these changes are they form what the government is calling part of their plan for change. We've heard a lot about this over the last few months, and they say it will unlock work and help us reach our ambition of an 80% employment rate. Sweeping reforms, but the government argues that they're necessary changes to create a more sustainable and fair welfare system, particularly one that encourages work, gets people back to work, raises the employment rate, and provides support where it's needed. However, of course, critics are going to argue that these cuts will push vulnerable people further into poverty and actually create barriers for those with disabilities rather than encouraging people to get into work. The freezing of PIP payments in particular is raising concerns about the impact on those already struggling with the rising cost of living. Of course, as this story develops, we're going to be keeping a close eye on how these reforms are implemented, the stories that are told, the impacts on claimants, the impact on the taxpayer. Does this actually save money? Remember, there's a £22 billion black hole, and this will only plug about 6 billion of it, so there's still more to come. And the balance between fiscal responsibility and providing adequate support for those who need it is a delicate one. And of course, it remains to be seen whether this approach will work, but I think it's a good thing to get more people back into work. That's what they want. People do not want to be trapped on benefits. They want to get back to work, and perhaps this is the way that it will happen. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam Cherry. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for more.